Welcome back, Spurs fans, to another edition of Casa De Salads from Whataburger. I'm just kidding. This is Casa De Spurs. I'm Trace, your host, joined by Steven. Steven, we got some feedback that the Whataburger salad last week was not so hot.
These people are listening. I mean,
jeez.
This is a burger-friendly podcast, so we'll try and avoid salad talk in the future.
This is a Spurs podcast, and the feedback we're getting is there's too much salad talk on the show. I guess we could be doing worse. I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe the Spurs. They played a little green this week, actually.
Ooh,
if you know
what
I
mean. Like salads.
Yeah. So they kicked off the week with they kicked off last week with a win over Portland. That was nice. We already talked about that last time, but. And then they lost back-to-back games against the Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks. Always a bummer to lose to the Mavericks in a conference division game. But let's start with the Warriors game, if you don't mind, real quick. Steven, the Spurs lost by 22 points, yet they shot 37%. The Warriors, what did they shoot? 50%.
1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, having Steph Curry means that your team always has a chance. And what happened with San Antonio was nobody could do anything. I actually thought I don't think the Warriors did anything special other than, make the shots they were supposed to make. Whereas San Antonio didn't make any of the shots they were supposed to make. But is there anything else in that game that, you took away?
Well, there's a convenience to having a guy like Steph Curry and Draymond Green, that when things are just weird and bizarre in a year like they are for the Warriors, they've got new incoming guys and their second best player arguably is out. It's very nice to be able to just go, hey, we're going to run a screen and roll with Steph and Draymond, and we're just going to headhunt here, basically. So what the Warriors were doing was they were going, we're going to put Demar Derozan in a pick and roll, and we're going to put LaMarcus Aldridge in a pick and roll. And whoever's guarding those guys, you're going to be the roll man. You're going to be the screen man. And watching that game was actually one of the more, I want to be respectful to what the Warriors were doing, but it was one of the more dumbed down versions of an NBA system or NBA offense, because it wasn't anything that was special. It was like the Spurs have a whole bunch of young athletic guards, and then they've got these two elders who are not very good defensively. So let's just put those guys in screen and rolls all night, and they couldn't do it. And on the offensive end, the Spurs came down, and it was like dribble, pass, one mid-range shot. And nobody's at the boards, nothing like that. I'm looking right here, LaMarcus Aldridge had 3 rebounds. We're going to have to talk about this guy's rebounding because it has been abysmal.
Non-existent.
He had 3 rebounds. Trey Lyles had 3. Rudy Gay had 9, but Jakob Poeltl has got 5 rebounds. It was just one and done the whole night, and it was just a really sad. You know what that game reminded me of? It kind of reminded me of the old San Antonio Spurs, not the 2014, the 2007, 2008, 2009 version, where everyone said the Spurs are boring. It was because it was just Parker and Duncan in a screen and roll, kicking to Bruce Bowen or Brent Barry in the corner. That's what that kind of had shades of. So it helps when you have Steph Curry. It helps when you have Draymond Green, and it also helps when you have James Wiseman,
Wiseman ate LaMarcus Aldridge. Can you remember? Can you even believe that there were trade rumors that the Warriors wanted Aldridge for basically the rights to draft James Wiseman?
That was silly because James Wiseman had his little coming out party. I mean, he's very young and he's very he hasn't played much, but goodness, if he's Clint Capella on steroids. The Warriors are going to be pretty good for the next decade or so. I mean, he really did. He made LaMarcus Aldridge look silly, and that's the difference between where the Spurs and the Warriors are at right now.
Yeah, just shooting was just a huge problem all night. Our prized rookie, Devin Vassell, was 2 for 8 in that game against the Warriors. One of 4 from downtown. So it certainly looked like
it was hard to. That was their worst game of the year.
Yeah.
It was easily their worst game of the year.
And it's a bummer that it came against a otherwise, I think, beatable team. I mean, this is not the 2016 Warriors knocking down your door.
Yeah.
This is. They followed up that game, Stephen, with a slightly more competitive game against. Well, more than slightly more competitive. It was a more competitive game against the Dallas Mavericks, but things just got away. I feel like defense really bit them in that game as well.
Yep. And look, we got to give a lot of credit here. DeJounte Murray has been, ever since he listened to that podcast where we dropped a hint that they might consider trading him, and we don't know if he's the point guard of the Spurs' future. DeJounte Murray's been on a tear. He had a triple-double tonight against the Wizards, but he went down in the first 2 minutes of the game in the Mavericks.
Yeah,
and they lost by 5. And things change, injuries happen, but not having him to guard Luka Doncic down for basically the entire game. What did Luka go for? He went for only 36, 11, and 9. So, the rest of the guys held him in fairly decent check. But I would have liked to have seen DeJounte on him, especially in the closing minutes. Everybody will talk about that last possession where Patty Mills was guarding Luka. Luka penetrates and kicks it out to Brunson for the 3. But yeah, and everybody wants to point fingers at Demar, who sagged off of Brunson. He was guarding him, but look, the guy was feasting all night long. He had 36 points and 11 assists. Yeah, you make somebody else hit the shot. That wasn't that disappointing, but no DeJounte. Right.
Yeah, I mean, like Steph Curry, having a Luka Doncic as your star player is quite the luxury. And then and not even fully healthy yet, Kristaps Porzingis is still just hanging out doing unicorn things over there whenever he wants to. Sure. So I feel like the Mavericks are going to be a nightmare for I don't know how many years. I'm already just not looking forward to. I mean, I would be looking forward to it if we had some players that were already on the trajectory that the Mavericks players are. Right. It could turn out that way. It could be a very Dirk versus Duncan sort of future between some of the players we've got. But right now, it looks like they have the upper hand on already developed superstar young players. And Kristaps isn't even that old. I don't remember how old he is, but he's not that old.
No, he's young. I want to say he's 24-ish, 25.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Now I feel old.
Yeah. But the same thing that kind of happened with the Dallas Mavericks with the Golden State Warriors also happened with the Mavericks. Eventually, Luka just went headhunting. You can see him. He's literally looking at, okay, who is DeMar DeRozan guarding? Who is LaMarcus Aldridge guarding? Who's Rudy Gay guarding? Okay, you're going to be my role man. And that's not only is that a very intelligent way to play basketball, but the Spurs literally don't have the personnel to defend it. You don't have enough scoring to justify putting DeMar on the bench. The young guys, Keldon, DeJounte, Lonnie, they're all inconsistent. You never know if you're going to get 4 points from them or 24 points. So you have a need for DeMar DeRozan offensively out there. LaMarcus, some days he's going to go, what was it in the Portland game? I think he hit 5 threes in the first half or something like that. That stuff is going to be good. But defensively, those two guys are huge holes. And if you have a player on your team like a Steph Curry, like a Luka Doncic, like a Trae Young, these guys who can hit shots over screens and they can just screen and roll you to death, the Spurs are really going to have their hands full. And that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter if you have Keldon Johnson on the court, DeJounte on the court, Lonnie Walker on the court. It's the very simplistic screen and roll. The Wizards did it a little bit tonight with Bradley Beal. I think, what did Beal finish with, Trace? He had 31. These are good players. And if you don't have two-way players who can, defend, but also justify some offensive support too, and that's what the Spurs don't have. Their holes are very glaring right now as we sit. What is this? What are they, 9-8 now?
9-8, yeah. Yeah, well, luckily tonight, all the Wizards really had was Bradley Beal. Yeah, and we on San Antonio, we had DeJounte Murray and FIBA Patty as well. So that
These
these
a
are
lot
things
of people
you can't.
that are wrong about Patty Mills.
Yeah, I think you and I both included. I feel like a couple of years ago we said that Patty Mills was done, and
it's proved us
I
all
don't.
wrong, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he had a spectacular 2020, but he has really come in strong this year. I mean, honestly, I thought when Patty was healthy and not playing in the bubble last year, like I thought that was the surest sign of any that like he was going to be a coach for the Spurs next year, not a point guard, and certainly not like leading a second unit of the San Antonio Spurs point guard. But here he is tonight. He had 21 points, 8 of 14 from the field. And, there's always he always gets like a million effort points regardless of how it works out. So.
Yeah. And we have a fine line here between, well, do we want the veterans to play or do we want the young guys to play versus who's earned it and who hasn't. Patty Mills is 32 years old. And it's easy to look at LaMarcus Aldridge and be like, this guy's on the wrong side of 30. He's 35, coming up on 35, and he has an aging skill set. It's easy to look at DeMar DeRozan and say, yeah, he's an offensive guy, but by the time his next contract's up, he's going to be 35. He's a mid-range shooter. He doesn't do this, doesn't do that. It's easy to look at Rudy Gay and be like, he's removed off an Achilles injury. He's going to, how is he going to age? Patty Mills is 32. He's been a backup for the last umpteen years, and he has range all over the court. Why do we want to get rid of a player like that? I like, even if he plays into a contract year, how much is that guy really going to get on the open market? Do you think Patty Mills is going to get a $25 million contract in year 12 at age 32? He's not. He's kind of exactly the type of veteran that these guys are going to need. And there's literally no reason to trade him. He's not bad. He's a good locker room. Like, he's one of the most decent humans on the planet. I'm running out of reasons for the Spurs to just part ways with Patty Mills. It doesn't seem logical, Trace. I think he's been fantastic. His only knock against him is his height. And so what? Like, there's whatever. He does some other pretty good things. So I think a lot of people need to write some apology notes to Patty Mills over here.
I also, and I don't know, but I haven't heard anything. I've heard that, like, obviously, DeRozan has some star power attached to him that you could see being a trade. Marcus Aldridge was losing whatever star power he had that could have been attractive in a trade, but it might still be there based on his history. Patty Mills, I don't think I've ever heard a rumor that like a team has contacted the Spurs about Patty Mills' services.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, I don't think I fully anticipate Patty Mills finishing this season with San Antonio, and we'll see what happens after this. But if I think you're right. If there is a move, it's hard to justify the move being Patty Mills when the return would not probably be worth getting rid of what a guy Patty Mills is.
Right. And for anybody that's cheering on the 9-8 San Antonio Spurs right now, you think they're 9-8 without Patty Mills this year? No,
no,
they're not. He holds all kinds of stuff together, and I don't think that he's really the guy that's taking Lonnie Walker's minutes. I don't think that he's the guy that's taking. He's not taking DeJounte Murray's minutes. Like, he has a role on this team, and it's been the same role since like their last title. So this whole idea that like we have 5 guards and Patty Mills is in the way, that's a little bit too far in that direction. I'm all for let's upgrade this roster, let's get this thing moving, but Patty Mills ain't the problem.
I want to talk about somebody real quick who we might have to see eat some of Lonnie Walker's minutes. A rookie by the name of Devin Vassell. Was tonight's game against the Wizard a little bit of a coming out party? He had, let me just drop his stat line for you here. He was 5 of 11, 4 from 6 from 3, 4 boards, an assist, 2 steals, and a block. He was also a very, very key contributor on some broken plays or breaking up some plays against the Wizards that are not going to be, show up in the stat column here. So is who, if he's a threat to start eating some minutes, whose minutes do you think he's going to be eating?
Lonnie, I think you said it right. I'm wondering, things will even out whenever Derek White eventually makes it back into the starting lineup, and then you can actually see what this team is. And then furthermore, what are you going to do with LaMarcus Aldridge and Rudy Gay and DeMar DeRozan and Patty Mills? And all that stuff will work itself out. I would not be surprised, though, if by the end of the year he's cutting into some of Lonnie's minutes a little bit. And rightly so. He's the 11th pick in the draft. Like this is a good player. This is a really good player. The Spurs did not waste their 11th overall pick. He's the highest drafted Spur since the great Timothy Theodore Duncan. So we should not be surprised that this guy is carving out a role. And for all intents and purposes, this is not a knock to Lonnie or to Keldon or to Luka Samanic. He's supposed to be better than him. They drafted him higher than those guys. So none of us should be shocked if he starts taking any or all of their minutes. I would say the only knock on Devin that I've seen so far is guy could afford to eat a Whataburger, Trace.
Oh.
And on that note, let's talk about Whataburger. I want to tell you, Trace, right now about one of my favorites from Whataburger. And you know I'm a big breakfast guy. I like burgers. We're not going salads, but I do want to tell you about the breakfast on a bun. If you have not had a good old-fashioned Bob, you are missing out. Go get this breakfast on a bun. It is a regular hamburger bun, sausage patty with egg and American cheese on it. Oh, man, this thing comes hot, wrapped, ready to go. You can get this at 11 p.m., Trace. So for those of you that are finishing up that late night, I don't know, Dancing with the Stars highlight, and you're like, man, I just need one quick snack, run out, grab your breakfast on a bun at your friendly neighborhood. So if Devin can snag a few breakfasts on a bun, he can maybe beef up a little bit. And then we don't have to worry about his name ever coming up in some of these silly Spurs trade rumors. And I think, Trace, you heard about a few wild ones this week?
Heard a few wild ones this week. The first one was not a trade, but I guess a free agent signing opportunity. It was suggested by a basketball account on Twitter and then roasted summarily by every Spurs fan I follow, that the Spurs should consider signing out of free agency former Washington Wizard for, I don't know, a week or two, Isaiah Thomas.
I saw that.
He was I do remember Greg Popovich having some fond feelings for Isaiah Thomas. This maybe was like 4 years ago, though. Before he went to Boston, before Sacramento gave him up for absolutely nothing, and he went on to, be sort of an unsung hero for Boston. At this point, though, Isaiah Thomas has been through a lot of injuries. He's also 5'9", also plays the same position as every up-and-coming Spur on the roster.
Every one of them.
So,
I think the argument for that
was a good signing here.
No, I think the argument was for some firepower. And I'm like, we literally just talked about Patty Mills. Patty Mills is having a career year, and we're going to come and just be like, no. Look, we don't want to go in this trajectory of these old veterans. Let's go with the short injured dude and bring him along, and he can take Patty's minutes. Like that's silly. There's zero reason why the Spurs should do that. That's somebody just going, let me just see what pot I can stir today.
Yeah. I think if any team were to sign Isaiah Thomas, they would be signing him to play the Patty Mills role on that team.
To play the Patty Mills role.
Like that's an official roster spot, I think, now. And we have
who
Patty Mills.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who would be good to play the Patty Mills role? Patty Mills.
Probably the guy they named it after.
Exactly.
So let's just go ahead and block that rumor out and never hear about that again. Steven, I just read about this one today. This one is interesting and not in a good way, but someone here for NBAanalysis.net thinks that the San Antonio Spurs should try to make a trade with the New York Knicks centering on DeMar DeRozan and Julius Randle. Who I forgot about, actually, but I remember having some fond I remember having some fond feelings about Julius Randle, thinking that he would have been a good fit on the Spurs before he disappeared and went to New York.
You know, I'm a Demar guy. I like Demar.
I like
but
Demar.
I actually don't hate this trade. I see that. Look at you with your number 10. I'm rocking a sweatshirt because it's cold out here in SoCal today. I don't hate this trade, actually. And I like DeMar DeRozan, and I want to see what happens. Julius Randle is obviously younger. I think he's been in some early, I mean, it's early, but some early like MVP conversations. This is a guy who can really like handle the ball from like the big man position. Like you could run him in like a point forward type of situation. I don't want to advocate that he is a great defender, but he has become a better defender. And respectfully, I would say he's a better defender than the guy he would be traded for, as well as for LaMarcus Aldridge. He's got a good thick body to him. I think he would actually fit really well next to Keldon Johnson. It would actually be a very interesting dynamic to try and watch those guys switch back and forth. And
the Body Boys.
Yeah, the Body Boys. Sounds like I don't know.
Why not?
Yeah, it's a gym in Venice Beach or something like that. Anyway, so yeah, this is not a trade that I hate. I think he's obviously significantly younger than DeMar. I'm kind of down for this. I'd like to let me text RC Buford, see what we can make happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where this came from. I don't think there's any smoke. I think this guy is just, whoever wrote this is just saying stuff,
throwing it into the wind and seeing what happens.
Maybe he's got the New York Knicks here. I agree with you. I am also a DeMar guy, and I see the opportunity. If there was an opportunity to make that move, I see why that would make way more sense than trying to hang on to DeMar DeRozan and re-sign him.
Can I add a nickel's worth of common sense to this conversation about DeMar DeRozan? I think if there's a right deal for DeMar DeRozan that makes your team significantly better, I think you have to explore that. But you should not just be trading DeMar DeRozan just for the sake of trading him. He's probably going to age pretty well with his game. He's not just like a rim attacker, so he's not taking like a physical beating on his body. And he doesn't play defense, so he's not taking a physical toll on his body. So if we can look at the future and see like, okay, is 34-point DeMar DeRozan, is he a six man that can come off the bench and get you 15 points a night? Like if he has that type of a career trajectory, then I think he's worth keeping. And he's probably worth keeping at a little bit more than his market value. He's probably not a max guy, but he's a $20 million plus a year player. So we're not advocating for trading him, but we're also not advocating for trading
him.
Yeah. You know.
Exactly. Okay, here's the other one. This one is actually written by the same guy from NBAanalysis.net. Oh, Greg Patuto, whoever he is. That sounds like a fake name. Anyway, their trade idea here is that the San Antonio Spurs should try to pursue Kyrie Irving, centered around DeMar DeRozan or LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, no, I don't want Kyrie Irving anywhere near my favorite basketball team. I'd rather lose 82 games in a year than ever have to cheer for Kyrie Irving. Although I do want to say those conversations in the locker room with Greg and Kyrie about how flat the earth is or isn't, I could make this some good conversation, I guess.
That would be very interesting. I would love to be a fly on the wall for a conversation with Kyrie Irving and Greg Popovich, just philosophizing on what I want to know actually is if Kyrie is just like a dumb guy who can kind of make himself sound smart sometimes, or if he's just a dumb guy that everyone else like pretends to not like tells him he's smart because he's Kyrie Irving and he's like because
you're good at basketball, so
an incredibly talented basketball skill. So they don't want to hurt his ego or anything by telling him that he's actually just like an idiot. Yeah. I want to know which one of those things he is, and I think Greg Popovich would suss that out real quick.
Yeah, we'd if you traded on a Tuesday, we'd know by Friday.
Yeah,
this guy's an idiot.
Yeah, listen, no knock on Kyrie Irving's basketball skills. His Game 7 winning shot in 2016 Finals against Golden State was maybe one of my favorite moments of an NBA Finals that the San Antonio Spurs were not involved in. But you know what? It's hard to trust him because he has said at least like what feels like 20 times this season, this 20 games into the season, that he's considering retiring like every other weekend.
Yeah.
How do you trust that? How do you trust his salary and commitment to, I might just retire if I wake up and realize in my mind's eye that like I'm on an astral projection that is totally different from the astral projection of everyone else on this team, and I just don't want to be a part of it anymore.
It's like he wants to be Andrew Luck with this like, I'm 29 and I'm going to retire. My body can't take a beating, except I'm 29 and I'm going to retire, and my mind is just smarter than all of you. It's like, this is not the same. No, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. I just don't think that that's a good idea. And it also does not surprise me that Brooklyn is like, anybody want Kyrie Irving? Like, watch him call the Wizards and be like, hey, you guys want to dump Russell Westbrook? Like, give us a couple picks and we'll take Russell Westbrook for you.
I mean, there had to have been a reason that they really decided to accelerate that James Harden trade, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you want Kevin Durant, you have to sometimes take a Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was ever like, we want Kyrie Irving. I think it was like, we really want Kevin Durant, and Kyrie you can come to.
Yeah. Steven, I don't have any other weird trade rumors. Have you heard anything else?
I have not heard of any specific trade rumors, which doesn't surprise me, but I have just seen that our particular fan base is thirsty for a trade. The only thing I'll say about this is let's be a little bit patient. Teams always get a little bit more desperate as we get closer to the deadline. It's hard for a team to just throw everything into the pot without knowing where they're going to stand in the playoffs. I don't know that the Spurs will move off of these guys. I think if I were a betting person right now, Trace, I don't know that I would bet on the Spurs to make any moves. This is very much a organization that they put a high price on team chemistry and organizational knowledge and institutional culture and all these other fun phrases that we all kind of scoff at, but that's the reality of it. And I don't know that they will look at, you know what, LaMarcus, we're just going to trade you to the Pacers for a second round pick and be done with it. Like they'll that's not how they operate. So I don't know. I don't know that I would bet that they would make a trade, but it's clear that there is some legitimate holes in this in this team, and they could benefit from some trades.
Yeah. You know, actually, I did remember one other thing. I saw some people clamoring for the Spurs to have gotten Alex Len before the Wizards.
We don't. That's
I don't want
to.
I don't want to get into that, except for other than, wow. That's where is that where we are right now? That we're asking for Alex Len.
Here's the thing: is like when you're in a position like the San Antonio Spurs are, like you have to be ready to pounce. I've said this about Jimmy Butler whenever he was trying to get out of Minnesota. Like that, he's on a short sale. The Spurs were on the other side of a short sale with Kawhi Leonard. So when a star comes up and they're like, "Hey, I want out of here," whoever that star may be, like if you're the Spurs, who you don't have a good free agent market, you're not a free agent destination. You're never just going to have a ton of cap space. When that guy comes open, man, you kind of have to just pounce on it. And I look at a team like Philly. Philly is flirted with the idea of trading Ben Simmons. Like, I don't know, man. Throw a massive offer at a team like that. Like that's how your team strikes. So they're gonna have to be flexible. Otherwise, they're just gonna nickel and dime mid lottery round picks for the next 5 to 7 years, and maybe they draft the next Tim Duncan, and maybe they don't. So I don't know. Their time will come, but I think they got to strike while the iron's hot.
Yep. Real quick, I want to talk about the upcoming slate of games here. Actually, before I do that, quick shout out. DeJounte Murray had a triple-double tonight. Triple-double watch. DeJounte Murray, he's doing it. Luka, our boy Luka, 2 minutes, one 3-pointer.
1 for 1.
Wow. Is that his first 3-pointer of his career? I think it might be.
I don't know. I don't care.
I'm gonna say that it is.
Okay.
Just for the sake of it. Okay, so with that out of the way, tomorrow at the Pelicans, back on a second end of a back-to-back at the Pelicans. They got Boston at home, and they got another back-to-back at home at the next weekend, Denver, and then the Grizzlies the day after that. Steven, they've played the Pelicans, they've played the Grizzlies already. They lost to the Pelicans in what might have been the ugliest game before the Warriors game happened. And then they also have beaten the Grizzlies on opening night, opening, the first time the Fiesta jerseys were ever worn. Ja Morant had 41 points, but they held him off. I think the Spurs finish this. I think they go 500 this week.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I would chalk up actually tomorrow night's game as a win against the Pelicans. I know they're on a back-to-back, but the Spurs are playing better on the road, ironically. I would expect them to lose to Boston, and I think that they'll lose to Memphis. But who was the other team that we said?
Denver. You think they're going to beat Denver?
I do. I like the way that the Spurs match up against Denver, but again, that's always subjective to how well LaMarcus is actually going to defend, and it'll depend too on how well our Murray and his ankle does against their Murray. So let's call it that 2-2, and I'll say that they beat the Nuggets and the Pelicans.
All right, I got them beating the Pelicans and the Grizzlies. I think they're going to take care of business again.
I just feel like the Grizzlies are going to come back after that first night and be like, nah, we're going to take this.
I could see that. I just think Nikola Jokic is going to make LaMarcus. I think he might actually bury LaMarcus Aldridge on the court that night. We'll see.
Maybe that'll be the end.
It might be. He's big. You think LaMarcus Aldridge is big? Nikola Jokic will make short work of him. Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode of Casa De Spurs or watching this episode of Casa De Spurs. As a reminder, you can follow us on Twitter at The Hailstone, at Dog, and at Casa De Spurs. We'll see you next time. We love a good salad around here. Go Spurs, go.
Go Spurs, go.